Karibuni, welcome, tuelimishwe kwa masuala ya jamii, tuchunguze sana mbalimbali, tujuzwe juu ya matukio ya kila pembe, hapa duniani kwa familia nzima.
Good evening, this is Lekuyani. Welcome to the Men's Den, and it is Tuesday, the 7th of September 2021, a day where we go back to the memory lanes of how our fathers, heroes or otherwise, affected and influenced the kind of men we are tonight. Earlier on, I was talking to Eshuchi Lumumba na akaniambia story kuruka. Eshuchi Lumumba, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Lekuyani. How are you today?
Kwani uliacha kucheza mziki, siku hizi unacheza American football?
Hapana. I'm a jack of trades, bana. I'm a jack of trades.
And these trades, by any chance, do they have to do anything to do with your dad?
80%, to be very honest. Yeah.
Okay, we'll be coming to that in a short while. But meanwhile, we have one and only the African man, the only guy that has been accumulating all the accolades, including his certificates of non-performance. Good evening, Mr. African man.
Yes, good evening, our viewers. Good evening, Eli. Good evening, Eshuchi, and all those backstage, Gilbert and the rest. I'm very happy to be here with you today. And as you know me, African man, you know, I'm here now, and I'm happy to be here. And yeah, there's some quite serious things we're getting there today. And I think this topic of father-son or daughter-son relationship, it is a very, very complicated one. And given that that is the area of my profession, and it's also the area of my life, being a father, and I know a lot of people have questions. Oh, these days the name father has been diluted. You call baby daddy, I don't know, absent father, present father. We cut those ones. There are only three things we're going to look at: how you bond, how they let the kids imitate you, and how you support them with their own opinion.
Okay, great.
So today, let us just start it up, and we're gonna move in a very, very fluent way. Wale madadi munaitwanga baby daddy, don't worry. You are here to know the truth.
Don't worry. We have actually upgraded from baby daddies to daddy, and now we've become Wababa. Who else to represent the Wababa nation other than the one and only James Mwathi? Good evening, Mubaba.
Mubaba.
Man. How are you, everyone? I'm glad to be here today. I see I'll be taken to school. Today I've come, I've chilled. African man is all raring to go. I can't wait for this. He's all purposed. So, kwa hiyo definition yake sijasikia zidadi. Kuna jina siku hizi nasikia najiita hivyo.
Hapana.
Zidadi hiyo ni gani?
Zidadi.
No.
So probably you'll educate us.
Yo matasi hata kusaidia. Hiyo Eli ama Gilbert.
You know, even as we talk about Zidzazi, there's only one person that probably can pronounce this name better than all of us. Who else than 9:30 on East African time? Mr. Gilbert Makomere. Mambo vipi kaka?
Mi niko fresh brother, niko poa sana. Shuchi, Matasio and James, I hope mko poa. Asanteni sana mazee come through. I'm grateful for this time. Ndio tumekuja kaende.
Na hii time ni time gani by the way? What time is it again?
It's 1:35 p.m. here in the US.
Oh, yes. Zidzazi got it right. It is 1:35. And you know what? As we want to find out the relationships and the memory lanes where we are talking about sons and their daddies, or boys with their daddies. What is the memory lane that you are carrying about? So hit on the subscription button if you haven't. That is the Arts in Heart on official, rather on YouTube. And then on Facebook, the Arts in Heart. And then we are equally on Instagram. As you follow through, tell us your story in the comment section. What is your story and what memories do you have of your paps or that father figure you had growing up? When we come back, we'll be talking to one and only Eshuchi Lumumba. Great, and we are back because we have told Mr. Zazi to go and get at something to drink on the men's table because here bado ako kwa ile ligi ingine. So, Eshuchi, your story.
Yes.
And how it actually contributed to the kind of man you are today. Tell us about your dad. And for those who actually missed out last week, Eshuchi had some great insight about his dad. This is what he had to say.
Juzi nilikutana na a couple, a man and I think his girlfriend, and they were going to a tailor. Ndo tailor aweke button kwa shati ya jamaa. Button, yani kuweka sindano hivi kwa, and then I think it just got me back. I was like, if I was my dad, I would hoop these people. So I think that is how I am.
Your dad will literally hoop you kwa kushona kifungua sindano. And why so, sir?
I don't know who educated my dad, but whoever educated or parented him or gave him parental tips, alimwambia kitu moja, hakuna kucheka na mtoto. There was nothing close to that. And sometimes later on in life, when you start reflecting, and there are those moments as a kid, unajua, mazee unashika paka grudge bana. My dad would make you grudge up bana. Useme bana, mimi bana nataka sitaki kukaa kwa hii nchi. Unajua, if this is what it is, yeah. But I think like James always says, when it comes to parenting, there is no manual, and everyone just wants to do the best for their child. So hakuna mzazi anakuanga amejua I'm doing the best this and that. But one thing I will never lie to anybody, the truth behind a dad being, I don't know, they say it's a daughter's hero ama a son's hero, whoever, a dad is a hero. For me, my father was always a hero. Tulikuwa na a lot of compromises in life. My life was, let me say, my mind then was very difficult, but my dad was my hero. I think I lived the biggest percentage of my life trying to impress my father, because that guy was hard to impress. He was really hard to impress, and he was also really hard to beat, because what made it so hard to impress him was he could do anything better than you. Unajua, like ningumu, it was going to be very difficult for you to challenge him. Maybe pale to academics kidogo tu, but it was difficult. So basically what I usually say is I take after my dad. It's a fact that I try to run away from through a lot of things, but sometimes when I just become honest with myself and reflect, I'm like, manze, this is just that old man. This is just that old man. Two things. My dad, number one, disciplinarian. There was no room for error. In my dad's world, utter accident haikuwa. I accidentally knocked a glass. Why? Eti unatembea na panga kwa compound, unasikia upige ukate kwa mti hivi. Why? You have nothing to do. Unajua, it got to a point I thought he was petty. Alinipata nilitengeneza fair. Unajua fair?
I think your dad was petty actually, because the African man is actually laughing. Mr. African man.
No.
Mr. African man, you think his dad was petty?
Not at all. Your dad was exactly like mine.
Oh, really?
My father, being a principal of a technical school, kwanza mimi, if I approach my father without tucking in my shirt, he taught me there are two types of shirts. Kunele imeenda hivi ni ya kutakini. Na kunele imeenda hivi si ya kutakini. First of all,
sasa wewe, when you're using hivi and hivi, how do you
Hapa mnavaa tu madomi mnaanza kuhanga.
What is hivi? What is hivi? Shati imeenda hivi. Please don't explain to us like somebody who was explaining to a blind man. I have this amount of money. And then I took this amount of money, I spent it on bread. Then I took this, a blind man. Bro, what is shati gani inavaliwa hivi?
Let me tell you, Eli, how many buttons does your shirt have now?
Bro.
Normally, you don't know.
Why do I have bay? Why do I have bay?
Let's cut it. What Eshuchi is saying is very, 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 very clear. Same thing with my father. There is no room for mistake. You don't go in the public. If you put on a shirt, you want to put on a tie, then you put on a tie. Atumefunga tie na imehang hapa, afadhali usivai tie. Simple, gentlemen.
It's like the one that Nyanduko was wearing the other day, actually.
Vitu kama hizo. Unapata tu jamaa
anatembea taa. Ulikuwa unasikia umeitia baba yangu.
You cannot come with your collar like this in front of my father. That's why you are running away. Kwanza, you have to go check yourself in the bedroom if you are dressed nice. Then, master of discipline. Eshuchi, I agree with you. And that's the part I'm trying to be also.
Clearly, you're not making that kind of a father because... James, before I bring in Gilbert, who has been laughing all through, what is your take on this kind of fathers that these two have?
I think these two need therapy. Today is their therapy session. Clearly, they grew up in problems. My father was a disciplinarian, but this is a bit too much. But I was watching some clip today, and something resonates with what they say, because in the clip they were saying kids born between 1959 and 1979, that 20-year gap, they grew up in a military setup. Their parents didn't have to talk. Alikuwa na kuangalia hivi, it is for you to decipher what that look says.
Means.
But after 79, unaangalia mtoto hivi anakuuliza kuna kitu mbaya na macho yako. Nini inakusumbua? Yeah. So things have changed completely. I agree with them 100%. Also growing up, you didn't need to be told. Kuna kulikuwa unaangalia wangu hivi unajua kuna kitu sijafanya, ama nafaa kuwa nimelala, ama nafaa kuwa nimemaliza food. Just a look. But today's parenting and today's kids, kuna ka issue.
Naintari, what do you think of all this as you talk about environment and 75% of yourself? Naintari, you're muted. Leo Naintari amekuwa mnyenyekevu.
Hapana, sina maneno Eli. Mi unajua nasikiza watu wako therapy. Today I'm that teacher and I think I'll take nitachukua Eshuchi na Matasio back to class. Tuwasaidie therapy kidogo. James, I think you have an appointment ya wawili kesho, be ready for them. I think Eli tunaweza walipia, si ndio? Because naona one thing with the kids development Eli ili kwanza I'll start naanza kutoka huko chini. Wakati mtoto anazaliwa. Whether you are there or not, the first thing wewe kama mbaba mbaba
Jemo, when you are talking about wababa, address Jemo please.
Ukipewa mtoto wako umshike, that smile you radiate in kwa huyo mtoto ina create attachment yenye ina last forever. And that's why unasikia kwa development, presence is very important. Hata upeane pesa kiasi gani na hauko present, hakuna vile huyo mtoto ata create that attachment. Sasa your presence determines kama huyo mtoto ata create the positive attachment ama atakuwa na negative attachment when growing up. Because from the little things, like from 12 months, wakati mama ana take backseat, mtoto akianza kucrawl, mtoto akianza kuonyesha hizo milestone, mama amefunza mtoto kwa touch, lakini baba kuna vile anamrafa up. Sasa unaanza kutembea na anguka huko, baba anaenda anamwambia don't cry, be strong.
Baba yako alikwambia be strong?
Oh man, yeah.
But your dad told you that?
Yeah.
Your dad
Kama
told you be
wako-
strong because umejiangusha. I'll tell you about
Yeah,
my
of
dad when we
course.
come back. I'll tell you about my dad when we come back. Meanwhile, remember the Girls Talk is always on every single Wednesday, and this is some of the shows you missed out last week.
Second, the storyteller amesema happiness ni kupata avocado kubwa na mbegu ndogo. Mimi nasema happiness ni kupata jamaa anabadilisha boxer kila siku.
Na kama hazijatosha manze, kama msee manze amesota boxer hapati.
Happiness Frida, happiness ni kupata jamaa anavaa boxer sio kinyasa. Happiness.
Hey, baba yako alikuwa anakunulia kinyasa ya jeans ama ilikuwa Savco and unaendelea na maisha? (9:30), I'm addressing you.
Oh, sorry. So nilikuwa naongelea kutoka hiyo stage sasa.
No, my question was, ulinunuliwa boxer ama kinyasa ya Savco?
Of course, boxer hazikuwa by then, Eli. Kama ilikuwa kwenyu, then you lived in heaven.
It's all right. Let's go to the comment section.
Una pick za tubo.
Frida tells me, number one here, good evening to you, Noreen Ambata. How are you doing tonight? Zazi tunawajua. Of course, your Zazis, they are all the way in Oklahoma, USA. And we have Junior Benedicto says, following. Thank you so much for joining the conversation tonight. Mine passed when I was 12. That's 38 years ago. Over to you, Wababa. Okay. Majibaba Noreen goes ahead and said, and then yes, of course, may his soul rest in peace. But then again, there's always that father figure that you have in your life. And of course, James is playing that role tonight in the Wababa section. Nimefika at in heart, Mensden, karibu sana Kipro Roda. How are you doing? The other side, I have Fifi Pats who tells me, Kaende Kago Kago. Kago Kago. I hope that's a language we are communicating in. Godi Segero tells me, I'm here to officially listen to African Man's story. Okay, African Man's better get ready. This guy is always writing. Huwa anaandika nini? Yeah? Hata Eshuchi ni mwalimu lakini haandiki. Eshuchi, what is the African man always writing and scribing?
The African man is I think ni wale watu wa kitambo. Seriousness yao walikuwa wanaonyesha kuna vitu kama hizo. Ndio ujue hajakuja hapa kucheza. Hajakuja. Let me tell you, my dad alijifanya siku wakati fulani, and I know he might be watching. Eti sasa yeye atakuwa anani coach every evening. Na coaching, let me tell you, coaching ya my dad ilikuanga sijui naweza equate na nini. Afadhali kanjwa Nairobi wa kushike. Kushinda ukae na budangu eti anakufanyia coaching. Sasa every evening umeingia nyumbani, umetoa ng'ombe, umefunga vizuri. Itakumesa translates to kuja kwa meza. Then skip the history.
Hold on that fast. Let me just, before people think I'm ignoring them here, Lorraine Sira Waidara, thank you so much for joining in.
Karibu sana Lorraine, that's my BFF.
Thank you so much. Mambo ya Wababa. Kuja usikize mambo ya Wababa, Aaron. Unaitwa hapa. Let's see. Wycliffe Gaddafi. Oh, this guy is always on another level. At in heart, I remember early 2000 when he came home drunk and told me to call my mom. Akanituma kupik kitu kwa gari. Mimi nikajificha nikahepa. Nilitafutwa baadaye hadi kwa choo. Stool niligongwa nayo. Reminded me. Ile stool aligongwa nayo. Never forgot that. Hey, Pombe. And as you come to that story, of course, Nani, because I know you guys have quite interesting stories on how you people grew up. Let's see. Who is here? Nani yako hapa? Hey, the usual faces. Thank you so much. Everybody that is joining, contribute to the discussion. Let us know how your fathers molded the kind of people you are tonight. What memories do you have of your father? Eunice Muhati says, good evening, watching from abroad. Thank you so much, Eunice, for joining tonight. We have Frida who says, Eli Likuyani, I've noted who you African man is always taking notes. Atukwambia, what is he writing? Aki. And we have Winnie K. Mugabe who says, Kipro Roda tuned in. Thank you so much for joining Winnie. She's Winnie, I suppose that's her. And let's get the rest of the gentlemen on board so that we endelea na hii discussion. So, before I go to Eshuchi's story, we were talking to Nani, Mr. 930. 930, what was your aspect on this issue?
My aspect is angalia.
Bro, su tuangalie ukiandika hizo vitu unaandika.
Mimi
tunaona
nasema angalie shiti na uangalie Matasio. Their story.
Yeah.
Vile walilelewa wakiwa wadogo, these guys were so militarized. Hata wakiongea, yani unapatanga kuna kauchungu fulani kako ndani yao watu wawili. Unajua their father really worked on them, and that is the influence we are talking about, that the things our dad did to us, and what the missing link with this current generation, Ellie, as you said, we are being raised with fathers who are busy, absent, fathers who don't care, fathers wenye wanatoka job 6 na wanaenda kulewa paka saa 9, akikama watoyo wamelala, morning watoyo mamkangware wameenda shule, wanaamka haoni baba, wanaona baba pengine weekend on Saturday, because Saturday jioni akienda kulewa atarudi Sunday saa 9.
Nowadays they don't say kulewa, wanaenda kupewa drinks na mayeng.
Wanaenda drinks na mayeng, they are absent. That's why unaona kuna mismatch between generation sisi tulilelewa na hii generation ya sasa. Umesikia shisha kikwambia unafunga ng'ombe alafu unaambiwa nini kuja kwa meza. My dad will be like, anakaa hapa, wewe mnakaa hivi mkisoma, and then anaangalia kila mtu. Na kuambia jaribu udozi. Na unajua sasa hiyo ushakula sapa. Jaribu udozi. Ile coffee itakupa utaamka kesho kama ulilala. And you see, that is the life we are in, that we were being taught not only to do the right thing. You don't have option. Watoto wasikizi wako na option. Hakuna option ulikuwa unapewa, ni unakaa hapo unafanya what I'm saying. If you don't want to do it, it's either you ship in or you ship in completely. Hakuna kuship out.
Ellie.
Yes.
Ellie.
no,
Let me give you, before African man to Akame, ameandika notes mob sana, so akizicompose pamoja. No, you know, we are laughing, we are laughing, but with all our upbringings, at least we've turned out okay. Watu wanajielewa. We can look back and laugh and say, yes, it was militarized and all that, but we are generally okay. I want to give you a case study, and it's a real case study. And this evening, just before I came to the show, I was meeting a friend of mine, a young man, a relatively middle-aged man, around 35. I will avoid giving too much details because he might be in the show and I did not seek his consent to discuss his issues, but I'll just give it in general. I was seeing this friend of mine who is 35 years old, whose father disappeared, walked out on them for many years. Completely, they did not know where he went and all that. Completely walked out on them. And then along the way, this friend of mine fell into some dysfunctional coping mechanisms, and that's how I started seeing him. And God is good. He found his way finally. But today he called me, and he was insistent from about 2 days ago. I have not been very available, but today I made time to kind of kaka. And he was telling me for the past 4 years or more, amejaribu kurebuild hiyo relationship yake na budake, imekataa.
Yeah.
Completely, they do not have a relationship at all. And he was calling me to tell me, I have given up. I am putting up with this man because of my mother. But I have given up. If this guy ever needs any of my help, I will not help at all. And he was telling me, I am telling you, Ngoja, he was telling me, I'm telling you this so that at any later date, mtu asikai kuja kuniuliza swali. I have given up. I don't want anything to do with him. And now the reason why I'm saying we have turned out right, I looked at him and I told him, una need kuwa very careful, because the bitterness that you carry, you might end up being your father. Later on in life, you might end up being your father. And this will play along, or will play on, you'll pass it on to your kids. Because as fathers and children, and their boys especially, what we do is mirror. You see, hakuna mtu kufundisha how to be a man. The first man who teaches you how to be a man is your father. So if he has negative attributes, you internalize them unconsciously. Unazipik tu. So you might vow to yourself that, and I have heard Esuchi say that. Akisema polepole he is finding, akisema polepole is finding that he has become his father. So it happens very gradually. So as we laugh, let's also look at the other side, where kuna wenye wame grow up in a very dysfunctional father figures, and what has that done to them today. Probably hiyo ndio nilikuwa nataka kuleta hiyo aspect pia, ndio tusiangalie tu yes things happen.
Ulienda shule kwa sisi wote wewe ndio ulienda shule.
Ngoja ndio nipe Matasio reason ya kuandika notes.
Before Matasio comes in, and I know Eshuchi still have your story, it's a humesa, but you wanted to react to something James was saying?
Yeah, I wanted to, just a very quick one. My family was very dynamic. Achana hata na mambo ya baba na mama and all that. You know, I also come from, I come from a slightly polygamous kind of a setup. And what James is saying about the friend has just hit home. Occasionally, like I'm saying, generally speaking, when you get objective and when I get objective, I think my dad is an amazing human. And I think sometimes as men, it's just difficult for us to draw the line between looking at this person as your father and also looking at them and growing up and looking at them as a fellow man and trying to understand their choices from a manly perspective. Because I think that is what got me out of it. It got to a point where I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm angry about this, but then let me come back here and stop looking at this person and what he should have done as a father and look at him as a man. And when you look at it that way, you realize, you know what? Maybe he's just trying to make amends. Maybe he's just trying to do his best. Maybe he did something wrong and he doesn't know how to come forth and, you know, make up for it. Because at a later stage in life, that struggle that James is talking about, I could see it. I could feel him. Because my dad, for the longest time, we could not sit down and story. Now, pick a story. Buda anakapa, unashughulika huko. You know, always. And so I think I grew up, and then he realizes, oh, this guy is a man. He needs to be my friend. We need to be talking. But now the bond was not there. Tukikaa, mimi niko tu manze, sasa mbona tunakaa hapa? Sasa tunafanya nini? But then I could tell now he was making the progress. And honestly, he did. Because lately, these days, manze, we talk about these stories. And hapa hata see it in gossip. If he's watching, he's laughing totally. Because I remind him of these things. I'm like, manze, Buddha, you needed to go easy here. And I'll tell you about my younger brother who is having a time of his life. And juzi niliambiwa juzi Buddha aliniambia eti bana, ongea na huyu kijana amenishinda.
And you look at him like, wewe mtoto wako amekushinda. Your own son amekushinda. Unaniletea. You know what? Let's get to the comment section. I have a lot that is happening there. And thank you so much for the contributions that are happening. We have Frida Nguku, who tells me, African man, uko hapa. You are being waited for, African man. So as you come back, remember notes zako zinasaidia hii jambori yenye inaendelea. I agree with you, Makomere Gilbert. Fathers nowadays wako true. Our time we got discipline cha lazima. There is no in between, no option. It's like wewe. Mimi nitawaambia story yangu. I'm still holding on it, otherwise I look like I'm fabricating stories. Watoto wa siku hizi pia wanaitwa baba. Okay. Noreen, you just tickled us, right? We will come to that, and I know James detests the kababa generation. Why? Because yeye peke yake ndiye anataka naitwe mubaba. Justice Miller tells me this this beautiful discussion, very important. The generations are tearing apart completely. The upbringing nowadays is totally not a concern to our parents. Wow. And I'm not surprised because most of us are busy chasing the papers. Tunatafuta pesa as much as we can and then forget the most important aspects. This is a long one. I remember the first day I joined nursery school. Nilitumia pesa ya vitabu. I will let Shuchi read that one better. He's a good storyteller.
Kwanza. Gilbert will need to align something in his story. Kuna kitu add up. Nursery ulipatiwa pesa ujinunulie kitabu. Na nursery tulipatiwa kitabu exercise moja ya kasuku inakatwa na makasi katikati.
I get you.
Unapatiwa hiyo ya junior term 1, hiyo ya chini ni ya term 2. Term 1 page 1 huku unaandika a e i o u, huko kwingine unaandika 1 2 3 4.
Bro,
so anyway,
nursery you are writing a e i o u hadi u. Was your father teacher?
Nilikuwa nakalia matufali. My father was not a teacher, but I have lots of uncles who are teachers. Mimi nilikuwa nakalia matufali.
Now I understand how you could get to U and you are in nursery because I stopped there at A and number 1 for quite some time.
Wenu alikuwa mslow sana. Mwalimu wenu alikuwa mslow.
Anyway, ni special.
Let me read Godwin's comment, yeah? Let me read Godwin's comment. Godwin says, I remember the first day I joined nursery school. Nilitumia pesa ya vitabu kubuy mandazi because my uncle had bought me books, but I didn't mention to my dad. Oh! Alikuwa anacheza smart. He realized but gave me 2 days to make sure I used all the money. On the 3rd day, Jesus resurrected my friend. My dad asked me about the money and I couldn't explain. The beating I received, I swore never to touch school money again. Na sunaona Godi amekuwa I hear is a very good planner. Unaona sasa hiyo beating, it needed to come that early.
Huyu kijana Godi ni mkaziaji pesa sana. Inafaa hiyo lesson fulani. I pity the woman this guy.
Eli, Goja. I want to comment on the Kababa generation.
Okay.
In context to what we are talking about. Na inakampoa sana. You see, this generation, how we were brought up, we were brought up in very harsh, quote unquote, circumstances. And what is happening now to the generation after us is that as parents, we are overcompensating. Sababu ulichapwa, you did not like it, sijui ukafanywa nini, so you vow, my child will not go through that. Yeah. So we do not have alternate measures to instill discipline. So we remove the beating and the lessons that were therein, and then we pamper these children and call them kababa and all that, thinking that we are deviating from the punishment. Again, I use that word very carefully. Punishment that we received, but we end up spoiling them because we are not introducing any alternative lessons or how to learn lessons. So it is just an overcompensation, and that's why you see the generation after 79 mwisho hapo 80. Now the parents who come after that overcompensate what they received. So they go the complete opposite. Tunapoteza generation. So at least now issue imetusaidia tujue where this discrepancy is coming from.
Awesome. And for everybody that hasn't followed this when we started off, we actually started where we are building a child from that 0 level, and we are using the Erik Erikson theory in psychology of a child and development stages of a child. So in case you missed out, head back to YouTube, where is the As in Heart Official, and get to subscribe and watch and rewatch those episodes because you need them to understand where we are coming from. We're going to take a very quick break, and when we come back, the African man tells me full scope imeja. Ni kama anaenda kutoa ile ruling ya judiciary yenye ilikuwa inaongelea watu fulani wenye waliambiwa hii kitu iendelee mbele. But then again, it is what it is. Let's take a break.
Everyone tells you to watch out for the following signs and symptoms which might indicate that you are a mental health patient. Everyone gives you a clinical approach on how to tackle your mental health problems. But me, I'm no expert. I'm just an artistic soul with a simple life and a simple approach on how to stay sane in a world designed to drive you insane. Simple, the EP. Enjoy.
And yes, welcome back to the Men's Den. My name is Likuyani Eli, and you are watching the Tuesday edition where we are talking of boys and their daddies. What effects do the memories children have with their daddies create in the kind of man you see today? Let's get in with African man who has been taking enough notes. And sir, summary is of very importance.
Okay. Welcome back, our viewers. I'm seeing some very nice people there. I just want to give a shout out to some of my friends there. Kwanda Noreen Ambata, I want to react to you, but if I have time, there are some people I wanted to react to. My friend Gilbert, about that theory of 1959 to 1979, you are correct about it. I agree with you. Some of us who were born between 59 and 79, I'm born 74. There is a break in discipline. That's one thing. I stand to really insist that Eli and Makomere and the rest were lost. Me and Eshuji are the only guys here on the real father track.
Ile bangi unakula ni mbichi sana, but it's all right.
Na nakunywa maziwa juu yake. So, what I want to say is like this. It is important for us to talk to our fellow fathers, young fathers. First of all, I call them young fathers. Mm-hmm. Young fathers in the sense that we have got children when we are 20s, 30s, and everything. When I compare with my parents, it's a bit different age. So, to react to, I will put everything together. I made a comment that I want to react to Noreen. Noreen, your father as a daughter has to pamper you. That is your right as a girl. Because I don't know where we come from, but a girl is an investment. You understand? Eh? There is a time you will leave the home and some other man will come and will give something to your father. So you must be pampered. There's no discussion about that. You are right. Your father has to pamper you. But for us boys, it's something very different. I've made so many notes. And I think what most of us young fathers forget is with sons. I don't have a daughter, and I really have a lot of friends who have daughters. And I think what we have to look at now is relationship. I'll give you back to the 3 stages. I know you are trying to use this theory of Erickson, but I am an African man. I give it from the Pan-African perspective. The Pan-African perspective, I've got 3 regions, 3 main points. And I said before, the 3 main points is when a child is born, there's the bonding. After the bonding, there's the imitating. And after the imitating, there is the being opinionated, trying to follow your own brain. Now, the most important thing for fathers is to create a unique relationship with your son. That's very important, to create a unique relationship with your son. You see, we've talked about some of us being brought up in the military, what you call military parenting. That military parenting, I like it. I accept it. I agree with it. Let me tell you, the English people say, spare the rod, spoil the child. You are
Sorry. No, I was saying, the English people say, spare the rod and spoil the child. What do the African people say?
The African people say one thing. The African man say, usiposikia la mkuu utafunjika guu.
Uh-huh.
Spare the rod, spoil the child. English. Pan-Africanism, usiposikia la mkuu utavunjika guu.
Uh-huh.
Are we together?
Up to there, yes.
Up to there. Okay, I've got 3 minutes 1.5 minutes to go. So,
okay.
With all those reactions, what I wanted to really bring on the table, I think we are getting lost. We are getting mixed with struggling fathers. We're getting mixed with confused fathers. A father is a father. And we're getting mixed with an ambushed fathers, because there's one thing you have to understand. It takes two people, a woman and a man, to make a man a father. The woman has got more choices than you. You may not be ready, but the pregnancy is in the mother. That's where it starts.
What are you saying? What are you saying? What
So
are you
now,
saying?
the thing
9:30,
is-
come. 9:30, come. Help me out. African man, continue as 9:30 listens in.
So what I'm trying to explain here is, at the end of the day, there are two important things. There are two important things that we have to know as Pan-African fathers. First important is, you like it or not, you will establish a unique, special, workable relationship between you and your son. Let's put daughters aside, first of all. Mano e mano, as a man and a man. And the second point with this, you will receive very volatile obstacles from the culture. And the most important obstacle you receive is the mother. First of all, it's the most important, the most biggest challenge, while you struggle to create your relationship between your son. Because you see, in the 0 to 4 to 6 age, the mother is very close to the child with breastfeeding. It is a spiritual moment. It is a bonding moment. So this child has got a much stronger bond with the mother, which is much more emotional than tactical. So you understand? So for a child of 3 months,
they do the emotional things and then they come for technical training with
technical
the father.
things. Yes.
That's what you're saying. Tactical ni baba.
Ni baba sasa.
Okay.
Hapo ni mubaba, ni baba, we can call whatever it is. So I'll give you the story you said about us young boys seeing the father come in and running away. No, it is not fear. It is a question of what he said, like our fathers were smart enough. You cannot challenge them. You understand? Because the father is there for challenge. You see, when you reach 6, 7, then you go to play football with your father. Yeah. Anakusukuma mnacheza ball, unaanguka na kuambia amka. That's how football is. Chapa tena, unaanguka na kuambia amka. The mother cannot do that. Mnakuja nyumbani, umeumiza mtoto, mbona amechafuka, mbona analia. Now you see, you're creating your relationship with your own father. Tough man. You understand? You call it military, you call it all that, but it's all those things. Because right now, after 79, as you say, some of fathers have become like, as long as I pay money, as long as I go there, everything is okay. So the relationship between a son and a father, it is unique. And before you make it unique, you have to be aware of the obstacles. And obstacle number 1 is the mother. Obstacle number 2 is the son himself. Then I bring you to the 3 stages from the Pan-African point of view.
Bro,
the Pan-African point of view.
3 minutes. Are we in a lecture hall?
Okay, now, so to
summarize
finish,
this,
he had notes. He had notes.
I told him to summarize.
I've been listening. So for me,
you were writing. You were not listening.
I was listening, and you cannot write without listening. So what I want, what I want to say is, my friend Makomero, you mentioned something, or was Makomero of them? You mentioned something about mirroring. You see, that's something I picked up. I wrote it down, mirroring. At the second stage, the kids start to mirror. The moment you become a disciplined father, your child is going to imitate your discipline. That's what I got from my father. I came in Europe when I was 21 years old. I had grown in Africa. I came to Europe. My age mates were sleeping up to 10, 11 o'clock.
And you are wondering, what is your problem?
You know what? Should you tell me, can you sleep in your father's house up to 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, or in a weekday? I finished my story. I'm done.
I have to tell you how it went. My father, first of all, is insomniac. He does not know what sleep is. Sasa shida yake na hiyo insomnia yake, he doesn't want to go through his insomnia alone. You get it? So
he's fooling you.
He will find reasons to make you stay up with him. Kuna siku moja aliniambia, nilikuwa nimekaa naye sana, nashangaa mbona tumekaa, why can't I just go to bed? Akaanza kunipatia I found it so silly, such a story. Akaniambia, wewe, hii usingizi yako, ukaambiwa end month utaanza kulipia bili ya hii usingizi. Si saizi ungekuwa unajaribu kukaa wake ndio bili pungue. Bili ya usingizi. And you see, what Matasio is saying is so right. You know, it gets to the point, it grows on you. And you end up with interesting traits that people don't understand. You know, sometimes you hear people talking about, oh, YOLO, you only live once, be adventurous. And one thing I've always told people, I'm someone who's enjoyed freedom for the longest time in my life. I think I started living alone just slightly before I completed high school. I've never had the guard of, curfew, kuja home, isa. But what Matasio is saying is right. There are those things that you learn from your dad at a tender age. I swear they will never leave you. Because there are things that sometimes in the adventure world, mtu anakuambia jaribu hii, and kuna vitu mimi ukuambia, by the way. I'm very liberal, I'm very open-minded, but it does not take me to have to try something, to know this is not something I would want. Your conscience, mali umekuza, vile umekuza, you know this is something I don't need to try to find if it works or not. So what Matasio, me na agree na Matasio, although, again, a quick one, I was speaking to, just now reflecting it on our current fathers. I was speaking to a very good friend of mine yesterday, a colleague actually, who follows the show very closely. And she was telling me that the current generation is suffering from what James just said, overcompensation. You know, what I missed out on, I want to over-deliver it to my child. Or what I did not have, or rather what I had that was so bad, I want to ensure that my child doesn't go with it. And she was telling me that we need to really create an interesting line between tough love and spoiling a child. And she told me categorically, and I think this was very interesting to me, especially coming from a lady. She told me you'd rather err towards the towards the tough love than towards the spoiling. Like you'd rather be a slightly bad parent side your military than be a slightly bad parent side your spoiling, because that other side is safer. But anyway, back to you, Gilbert. Gilbert anakaa kona. Back to Eli.
No, allow me to equally just involve everybody that is watching tonight. As we do that, we want to come back and try and measure out what are we supposed to do better as men, as fathers, as we focus in the comment section to see what people are saying there. In a second. And yes, welcome back. We have quite some insights here, and I think African man, every time he comes here, he shows the rest of us. Hakuna kitu tunajua, by the way. Everybody's talking about the African man. Nobody notices we are in this discussion. Let's see. Who is here? Wow, that's quite some write up there. Kiproroda says, Aki, ni African man mnaonea hivi, hapana hatumuonei. Jimmy Abdul Yusuf, thank you so much for coming to the show. She says, huku kuna mazungumzo ya wababa, pitia tafadhali Yasin Juma. Yasin Juma, feel tagged. Your child will one day do this to you. Omubaba Godwin Segero. Yes, definitely. The things you did kukula pesa ya kitabu. Na kitabu unapewa kitabu nusu ya kumeza tambili na unakula pesa ya tamu 4. The Father of Heaven is watching. We have Hamza Hassan Kuja huku kuna men's den. Thank you so much. Hey, Jimmy, you're doing a great job. Thank you so much for coming through. We have Winnie K. Mugambi who tells me there's always one common thing with African fathers. I want to discover what it is, because we have a lot of them here. Yes, Winnie, engage us more. Very, very true, James. Hey, James, leo umepata ka point. But you remember James' new name is Mubaba because he's the OG here. We have Kipro who says, Norina Mbata, tell him tit for tat is a fair game. Of course, talking to one and only Mr. Segero. Muta. Oh, hiyo ni jina ya watu. Usikuja peke yako, unaweza tuita akina Abdullahi. Watu wana majina. Thank you so much for the tags. We appreciate. Again, I'm reading in order of commenting, so do not crucify me by any chance. Mr. Lumumba, where were you my classmate by any chance? Kwa sababu kitabu iliraruliwa mara mbili. Men's Den kill us slowly. You are killing it, guys. You're killing it. Thank you so much. We appreciate the contributions. We have Nyanduko mwenyewe mwenye alisema yeye to her happiness ni kupata mbaba mwenye ana change boxer kila siku. Nyanduko tells me Kababa is now a grown man. That once
Nyanduko ana set bars zake huko high bana. Sasa utachange aje boxer kila siku, acha wewe.
Kila siku.
kama kuoga ni mara moja moja.
Hata Ministry of Health inajua hivyo.
Yes, Ernest, thank you so much for coming through. Some of the acts nikisema hapa anaweza atafungwa. Very hostile, but he is still the best. Awesome.
I feel you, Ernest. I feel you.
Ernest. Artex Tumbani and I say, oh, I have joined you late, but I love the show tuned live from Thika. Thank you so much for watching, Tumbani. Thank you so much. Who else is here? Who is coming through for the first time? Let's see. Ata Musieba Karibu Sani. There is Justice Miller who tells me my uncle was very hard on us, and whenever you could mess up, whenever you could mess up, not at that time, he will punish you, but he will wake you up in 5 a.m. You receive your very cold strokes, if I can add that one, and tells you what you did wrong. Nowadays, if you try to do that, and I know some guys, we know them, we deal with them after the show. Nowadays, if you try that on today's generation, then the next day you will be called to explain why. Our mothers are left with kids at home, and you can remember how they pamper us. Fathers are not doing what they are supposed to do in terms of instilling values on our children, having or making time for them. Thank you so much, Justice. And I think that's very, very comprehensive. There's very little we can add or remove from that. Matasio, African man, very well expressed. I love this Matasio Kagwa. African man. People go fall in love with
gangster points. Zinaitwa gangster points.
The African man is a vibe. Knowledge overload. That is from Winnie K. Mugambi. Thank you so much, Winnie, for your contribution. And let's see. Wacha nisome wenye sijasoma messages zao for once, okay? We have, what about children that didn't have the chance to grow up or even bond with their fathers? Are mothers to be considered as replacement? And I believe the right person to respond to that question is the African man at a later stage though. Let's see. Any other person that might have contributed? Nimeingia wapi kiti? Karibu sana Job Wafula. Tent ya green ndio ya wageni. Next. Gentlemen, we have talked, we have discussed. Let's allow James to give his overview.
No, I just wanted two things. Probably a reaction from to Esuchi on what they were discussing with a friend. And the biggest mistake that tunaona siku hizi ni, as parents tunajaribu kuwa mabeste ya watoi kuliko wa parent. Yeah, it is best that you choose.
I disagree.
Let me
disagree.
You will have your chance to disagree.
Okay, no, let him.
Let Matasio go. Let Matasio go.
Listen, my friend. It is never a mistake to be a friend of your wife, your brother, your child. It's never a mistake. It is never a mistake. Friendship goes first. Tusidanganyane. You must be a friend of your children. Hapo nimemaliza. Endelea.
All right. Can I go on?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So the biggest mistake that most parents of today's generation are making is they want to be their children's friend more than a parent. And once you do that, you lose your value as a parent. You need to always understand that at the end of the day, you're the parent. That was my first comment. My second comment, and this might be something that we might want to discuss at a later date, it is, I would want us to look at the fathers then and how they are today, because it is a known fact that men unfortunately die earlier than their wives. Yeah. It is also a fact that once they lose their financial capability and they go back to the village, wamadha ndio ushinda tu wakiitwa tao na watoi wao. The old man is left to fend for himself back in the village. I would want to pose a question to our viewers and ask, why might this be the case? Why might this be the case? And can we trace it back to how did we socialize our young men in terms of their relationships with their fathers, especially your generation yenye nimeongea about that generation. And I'm saying yes, kuna wengine wetu tulibahatika tukasurvive, but where is the bigger majority? So probably yangu ingekuwa tu kuacha our viewers with that question. What is happening at the end of the day? Can you look back in the villages and try and figure out what is really happening? Yes. African man still wants to go.
I don't know. You ask the audience.
But no. It's the audience, not you.
Yeah. I will. Yes. So let's because I see the audience are just sending love, smiles, and things like that. I know I'm popular. Some of them are mentioning my name. When I look at the
Matasi, just a quick reaction. Just a really quick reaction. I think you might have gone up on James a little prematurely. He did not. I don't think he meant there's anything wrong with being friends with your children. What I am gathering from what he said is we tend to do friendship at the expense of parenthood. So I think perhaps what he's trying to champion for is a balance of the two. Yes. Most parents want to overfocus on I want to be a good father, I want to look like a friend. But where is the parent? Where is the parent title? Because that capacity can't. Yes.
I opened my notes. That's why I came in. And that's why I reacted very quickly. Because it's a very common mistake. You know, there's common mistake in English. Eh? You don't say how come. You don't say how comes. You say how come. So one common mistake in parenting is thinking that being a friend of your children is a weakness. No, it's the biggest strength. It is the biggest strength.
African man.
Being a friend of your children is the biggest strength. You understand? Now, why do I say that? You see, I mentioned with you the 3 points: bonding, imitating, and being opinionated. The bonding forgets. You cannot fight with the mother there. Hapo bonding, akilia ni mama. Don't even go there. You too, jua kuchange diaper, jua tu kufanya hizo vitu za kawaida, mtoto akuonee karibu, ajue there is, that one is important. That's the spiritual one. Now, to really crack the whole thing, as a black man, as a Pan-Africanist man, you always have to have 3 worlds within yourself. Your physical world. Doesn't matter whether you are rich or poor. Kama ni kasimba uko nako, that's your physical world. Kama ni baiskeli, kama ni Mercedes Benz, kama ni Jaguar, that's your physical world. Your son will praise your bicycle than the neighbor's Jaguar. You understand? Wakionga baiskeli ya baba yangu alipata kwa grandfather, that's your physical world. That world has to be intact. What you own, hata nguo zako anakuambia baba yangu anavaa. Me I can tell you my best clothes of my father is Kaunda suits. Yani budangu ni Kaunda suit. Unajua kile kwa Kaunda suit? Hata mulete Gucci, hata mulete nini, mimi nakwambia nikifika age ya buda lazima nivae Kaunda suit. It makes me feel like this great man that was. Unajua Kaunda suit.
So we took you from your village all the way to where you are. After all those many years, and Kaunda suit is still what you are. Clearly, you're a true son of your father. You know what?
And I remember,
we'll continue with this conversation next week because time has never been enough for us.
Okay,
Mr. Gilbert, your parting shot. I know you've been the silent one, but give us a quick one.
Yeah, I love to listen more than writing. So I'll want to react on on Kita's statement. No. Listen, guys, I like to react to Kita's statement who say, what about those kids who are raised minus their dad in their life? Je, mama mzazi anakuwa replacement ya baba? I would say no. Everyone amezaliwa na their roles in a boy child life. Mahali pa mama pako na mahali pa baba pako. Wakati baba anakosekana in this cycle, a kid misses a lot. They miss a lot which cannot be compensated. Atakuwa na problem when they are adjusting to adulthood.
Yeah.
It goes without saying. How he will fight it out is now upon himself, because he might try to adjust and fail. So, wakati baba hayuko, the best thing nowadays they say, not nowadays, the best thing, unaweza tafuta, even if your brother or your father mwenyewe or your uncle, the man voice that will come to put some reason into this man when anagrow kutoka chini akiwa mtoto. Hiyo space isipokuwa replace, and if you want to play double roles, there's no double roles in parenting. No. You are playing your part, mtu mwingine acheze part yake. They complement each other. When one is missing, huyo mtoto atakuwa na shida. And that's my concern. Like for generation of these men that are growing up, they are missing parents. We have MIA fathers. And that is the concern to the next generation.
Thank you so much, Gilbert. Gentlemen, I'll give each of you a 30-second last word. Please respect that. Eshuchi.
I felt like talking a little more, but because it's 30 seconds, I think I'll just summarize. Sometimes in the future, allow us to have a discussion on what really friendship is. I find a gray area there, because I also think we need to understand the definition of being a friend to your child, because that friendship is not supposed to subvert and undermine respect. I've seen relationships where parents are very friendly with their children, but the child knows the cues. Kuna macho akiona anajua hapa, I need to behave like this. Hapa, I need to be here, we are good. So I think as we go on, let's be open at the gray areas, and let's try as much as possible to pick on one another's minds, so that in the end, even as we educate the public, we also really get something out of these all. The next time, I hope we won't be on therapy. Asanteni sana, and thanks for watching, guys. I have more stories. Mimi naweza kuwapigia stories paka next year.
Thank you. James, we hata amepita 30. James.
Again, I will always say it, there is no manual. There is no manual to parenting. There is no parent who intentionally goes out to set their child up for failure. We all try the best that we know. So I hope that Easy Talks zenye tunafanya, they can at least give the audience some cues and what to pick and how to better their relationships with their children. Kwa sababu enyewe kusema tu ukweli, we are losing men. We are parenting them wrong. We need to go back to the drawing board and ask ourselves, how do we parent the right kind of men? Niliona Nyanduku aliandika akasema kababa generation sahii ako na girlfriend na anataka girlfriend ampoeshe chai. It's even ridiculous to the kind of men who we are raising. So it's time we went back to the drawing board and just raised proper men.
Thank you so much. The kind of men that know 30 seconds to be 1.5 minutes. Mr. Matasio.
30 seconds, eh?
Yes.
26 is that. I will just cut it short. This is to the public, to the men in the house, from the men's den. 4 points, 4 important points. Teach and learn what friendship is with your children. Learn, work hard to gain friendship with your children. Teach your children there is a thin line between fear and respect. Teach them that. There is hierarchy. There is mama, there is papa, there is uncle, there is grandfather, until the ancestors. And at the end of the day, keep it a positive attachment. You have laughed by 3 seconds. You have laughed.
You guys, you're eating into Matasio's time.
Guys, we are late.
You eat my time by laughing. Friendship, fear, and respect are different. Hierarchy is important. Grandfather, father, son, grandchild, important. Positive attachment. Umekosa, lakini bado wewe ni mtoto wangu. Nitakuadvise. I'm done.
Well, his name is actually not Dan. His name is Mr. African Man. And that, of course, is Mr. 930, a.k.a. Gilbert Makomere. Without forgetting Mubaba in the building, a.k.a. James Mwati, the psychologist, and Mr. Smooth Lines, Mr. Mirabamine Eshuchi Lumumba. My name is Likuyani Eli. Clearly been told, niko na umama. That's why I'll be going to the girls' talk tomorrow and find out what they are talking in the girls' talk. Until next time, have a great evening. Remember that tuchunge na tuwapende watoto wetu. This is a good number from Eshuchi, which is telling us a great night to all of us. Remember to subscribe, share, like the page, and let's keep the conversation going. Kwa sababu hatujamaliza what we were supposed to have done. And clearly, that clip just decided it will disappear. So let's do this another time and have a great evening. Situonane.
Wakanda forever.